This is the Seahawkers podcast. I'm Brandon Schultz of the Military Seahawkers, and I am joined by my good buddy Adam Emmert.
That's not the lead, man. The lead, and this is what we really need to talk about. And I know you're going to hate this, but I want all the little flockers to know the yeoman's effort that Brandon has put out these last 3 days to go out to Seattle with me, put up with my ass for 3 days, do training camp, be social with, different dudes and do a lot of stuff. Allow me to eke out a couple wins at Top Golf. And
that's really what you wanted to get to. Top story. Adam wanted to let the flockers know he won at Top Golf every single time.
I thought I downplayed it by saying that I eked him out, which is a true fact. And then went to training camp, went to the mock game, and now he's here today recording, all while feeling definitely less than suboptimal. Big time effort from the Big Cheese. Good work, my man.
Just powering through it. This is we got to give the people what they want.
Absolutely.
And they want Seahawks content, and it's been a few days, and we've done the travel. We've been to the mock game. We've been to the training camp practice to see firsthand how things are going with some of those training camp battles coming up. And we have to deliver it so that people know what's going on, because we're the only way that some people get their Seahawks information.
That's true. And that's probably the smart way to do it, because then you're not cluttered by all the stupid national media narratives and things like that are out there.
You don't want to mess around with that, or, the other confusing narratives that might be up on Seahawks.com that, only push out what the team wants you to know. See, we're just not under the thumb of the organization right here.
That's exactly right. We're able to go out and tell you certain things. Like when we went to training camp, Brandon, one of my number one observations is that with the kickers and punters, the kickers still don't do jack catfish all day. And so if you have a son or a daughter and you're hoping that they can make millions at something, start teaching them to kick it through the uprights right now. Do it. It's a killer job.
Yeah, they do very little to nothing at training camp. In fact, I don't know if I even saw Michael Dixon on the field.
Oh, at training camp? He was out there quite a bit. They practiced punting quite a bit. So I was really throwing Jason Myers under the bus.
Well, I remember seeing Jason Myers walking through the field with the long snapper, and that was the one sighting that I had of him.
Yeah. Otherwise, he was just off in the boot. He's just doing God knows what. I have no idea. But
I have something else to tell people, too, about the mock game that will kind of blow your mind, I think, if you've ever seen the scoring results from the mock game. And we can get to that in a bit.
Yeah, Brandon's going to throw out a conspiracy here. And I don't even know if you can call it conspiracy, because it's dead true. You're not wrong. So
it's just something you never hear based from the reporting that comes out of the mock game. And maybe we should start there, because the mock game is kind of the bigger news. Sure. At least, we got to see dudes on the field playing. They never broadcast it, so you don't have a good idea of exactly what goes on, and maybe things have changed even in previous years. Mm-hmm. It's not really like regular football and where they're tackling to the ground on every single play. So if you went into it with that expectation, maybe dial it back that it's like Pro Bowl plus.
Yeah, I was going to say Pro Bowl heavy instead of Pro Bowl light, right? Yeah, that's a great way to put it. And you do get certain things out of it, like how often they using certain dudes and how are they using them in certain formations and things like that. For example,
who's on the first team?
Yeah. For example, Spoon, always in the slot, like 100% of the time. They never moved him outside. We saw Kobe Bryant out at safety. We saw JSN out on the field, and he worked out of the slot. I always say the slot for the nickel corner. I don't know why, but I mean, he covers the slot.
Right. I think people know what you mean.
In nickel. Yeah, I just need to clean up my language. That's poor. But yeah, just a lot of interesting tidbits like that. I mean, you talk about the mock game, Brandon, and you call it a mock game. I thought it was the Jake Bobo show. I thought that's what it was called.
Jake Bobo, 7 receptions, 76 yards, a touchdown, and he nearly had an 8th catch for a second touchdown, which probably would have put him up closer to 100 yards on the day. Mm-hmm. And you made fun of me during warm-ups. I'm like, Jake Bobo, watch this guy. I think he's going to be, you know how every year we fall in love with a wide receiver. I think Jake Bobo, he's going to be the guy this year. You're like, oh, he's just a slow white guy. I don't know if that's what he
it
said.
looks like he's running with cement shoes. What is he going to do? Looks like an unfolding lawn chair or a baby giraffe or something out there. And once again, dead wrong.
He had a good day. Cody Thompson, he had a pretty good day. 4 catches, 54 yards. These stats coming from Michael Sean Dugar, who, man, if he was compiling these as we went, that's pretty impressive. Because I don't know about you, but as we watched, to try and sit down and tally and then also watch the game, that's why Michael Sean gets paid the big bucks.
That's right. And since he gets the big bucks, he probably hired an intern to sit out there and count such things. So I'm not going to give him too much credit, although delegation is a hard thing and good for him. But yeah, those receivers did well. DK had a couple big catches. He destroyed Kobe. He destroyed Artie Burns. JSN destroyed Artie Burns. Artie Burns then reeled off like 3 or 4 great plays in a row throughout the game. And yeah, it was interesting. You saw a few dudes that you don't see a lot of often early on, and it was cool to see. One thing I thought that was interesting, I don't recall seeing Devin Bush out there at all defensively.
No, he was out there for camp the day before, but I don't remember seeing a lot of Bush either.
Yeah, no Bush. Let's see what else. Oh, definitely. Evan Brown was the starting center and Phil Haynes was the starting right guard.
Right.
And they seemed to perform just fine. There seemed to be one bobbled snap with the second team with Olu and Locke. I don't know exactly what happened there, or, if anybody was at fault even, or if it's just Rusty getting out there and doing it again for the first time type stuff. I have no idea.
Drew Lock, he looked okay out there. He he was strip sacked by Boye Mafe at one point in the game. Mafe coming around the edge and swatting it out, and that was a fun play for him. Metcalf, you mentioned the 2 catches. He also had one just horrific drop in the game too.
Well, I mean, if you want to be a hater, we could report on that. But it's a true fact.
DK Metcalf was awesome.
Yeah, he looked to be in midseason form. He really did. No Tyler Lockett. We didn't see Tyler at all in any way. Obviously didn't say K9, but we also did not see Zach Charbonnet, even though Pete had declared that we would. So that was a little bit of a disappointment.
Right. And he was in practice the previous day. He was warming up on the field before the mock game. And then we saw another running back go down to injury with McIntosh injuring his knee during the mock game. And so, yeah, we have some dude wearing number 40 who wasn't even on the Seahawks website roster who ran the ball for majority of the game.
Yeah, I think, isn't that the British knight that we just brought on, like Sir Robinson or something like that?
I don't know if we have a Sir Robinson on the team. Or is it
Say Robinson? Or it's a very interesting name.
He ran the touchdown in, was it Koback? I think Koback was number 40.
Sure. Yeah. Yep. Koback.
Wait, you don't remember that? Remember, we had to zoom in with the phone.
I do remember you zooming in on the phone and still not knowing who that dude was. So that's something. Right. Yeah, we got to sit with Dan Vians for a second as we were going through some of these Seahawks Forever podcast and going through some of these guys at the bottom of the roster. And I started to feel a little inadequate because he seemed to know a lot of these practice squad, never see him again dudes that I do not have the brain space to have. So
you've got to get to know the guys now, fall in love with them, and then remove them from your brain when they get cut in 3 weeks. Yeah.
And apparently that's right in his wheelhouse. So good by him. Just not a strength for me.
Definitely cool to see Dan Viens there. Another guy who we didn't see there, Derek Young, who wasn't out on the field. He's got an injury update from the team saying that they're checking him out for a sports hernia. That's according to Brady Henderson.
Okay. Well, that's something that K9 had last year. Marshawn suffered that at 1.2 and he needed surgery. So we'll see how bad that is. And that's a tough blow in a lot of ways because with the new D. Eskridge news,
right,
that makes us a little thinner at wide receiver.
D. Eskridge, despite the news in the game, had a lot of big plays. He was out there as a return man. He had 3 catches. The return that could have been called for a touchdown, but because I think one of the guys got a hand on him or two, they called him down before the actual touchdown score. But yeah, suspended 6 games, D. Eskridge, domestic issue. And I believe what I read was a 4th degree assault.
Yeah.
Which I had to look it up to see what a 4th degree assault meant.
Is like 4th better or worse, right? Like, as you go up the scale, is that worse, or is it like a burn, right? Like, you know, when you got a 1st degree burn, that's the worst as compared to a 3rd degree burn. And then it's more like that, it seems.
Yeah, they're like burns, apparently, how they rank them.
Yeah.
And we don't know what happened, obviously. And I'm not saying this to say that he was, I mean, obviously he was in the wrong because he got a 6-game suspension. Yeah. We just have to try and figure it out for ourselves if it's worth the, if the punishment is worth whatever he may have done. And I know whenever we see domestic issue, it's like, okay, bye.
See ya.
Don't need you on the team.
No room for that.
When I looked up 4th degree assault, examples included pushing, spitting, bumping into somebody, or slapping.
Yeah. So,
and we don't know which one of those things it was. Some of those may be worse than others in your mind, but
yeah, bumping into somebody is clearly the worst there.
You don't want to do that.
I mean, I probably should have been charged with 4th degree assault, I don't know, 20 times in the stadium.
If it was unwanted bumping into someone, you could have been charged.
Is it ever wanted? I don't think so. At least not for me.
That's true.
Yeah.
I suppose it would have to be more than accidental.
Oh, okay. That maybe there's a threshold there.
I don't know. I've never been charged with 4th degree assault. So
yeah. Anyway, we will find out what really happened there with D, and then I guess as a fan base, we can kind of come together and decide, if it was way past the pale of completely unacceptable or
second chance territory.
Yeah. And we'll see what he learned. But yeah, a little bit of bummer that I was trying to get myself into irrational hype mode when it came to D during training camp and the mock game, because I was sucked back in, and now I'm sucked right back out.
So now it's time for the bombshell of this mock game.
Yeah.
And
the conspiracy.
It's not a conspiracy. It's just you have to pay attention to the scoreboard and what was happening. And this has always just come from my own personal curiosity. How is it when the first team offense is playing the second team defense and the second team offense is playing the first team defense? How is it that these games always end so close? They shouldn't be, right? They should be very lopsided in terms of the offense just being able to not dominate, but they have an advantage. They're better.
You would think.
And every single year we see these mock games where it's like 20-17, 17-14. It's always within one score. And at first it seemed to line up pretty well because after the first half of play, the first team offense was winning 13-0. And it's like, okay, well, this is dumb. Maybe we'll get a shutout against our second team guys this year and it'll all make sense. And that was it just happened to be close based off of turnovers or whatever it was in the previous years. I don't know because I had never been able to watch.
Yeah.
Well, we get into the second half and Geno Smith, did he maybe play a series in the second half? I don't know if he did.
He did. I think he played the first series.
He played the first series. But then this is when things started to get a little fishy because we saw 15 come in, which was the third string quarterback. I've already forgotten his name.
Camp Arm.
You kept calling him Camp Arm, right?
Yeah. Camp Arm from like Carolina. He didn't look terrible either.
No, he's fine. It was a little bit weird because, he's a lefty.
You would say that. You're a leftyist.
Is that a bad thing? Just noticing that it
No, you said it was a little weird. Like, so you put a connotation upon being a lefty. It's because you hate them deep down inside. You don't think they're allowed in the same restaurants as you.
I'm only allowed to compare them to other quarterbacks like Steve Young and Tua Tagovailoa and
Right.
all the other famous left-handed quarterbacks in the NFL.
Sure. Who's the Plunkett? There you go. There's one.
It was before my time, but maybe not before yours.
We're the same age, Ab.
Catfish!
Holton Ahlers is the quarterback that we were trying to think of, rookie out of East Carolina. And this is where it gets a little bit confusing because the offense is always wearing blue, the defense is wearing green, and Holton drives him down the field. They run it in for a touchdown, and they put 7 points up on the board for the second team. It's like, okay, I guess Holton is the quarterback of the second team now, whereas Drew was before. But then Drew comes back out onto the field. Drew Lock leads the team down. They score. I think they got a field goal.
Yeah.
And then the 3 points goes into the column of the second team. The second team was just on offense. Yeah. And now these are back-to-back scores by the second team on ensuing drives.
Yeah, on sequential drives, right? Like you can't do that.
Yeah.
That's some funky stuff. Because at that point, you think Drew Lock is the new Geno running the first team. No. Not in mock game land.
Not in mock game land. So it's like it's first team versus second and third team. And then there's another drive, whether it was Drew or Holton at this point, I don't know. But the second team gets up to 17 points. So then they have the lead 17-13. And Drew Lock comes back on the field for the final drive of the game. They drive down the field, they score a touchdown. First team wins 20-17. How does that work? He was just scoring points for the second team just moments ago. And then all of a sudden on the final drive of the game, he's the first team quarterback that helps lead the team to victory.
Basically, Drew Lock just Benedict Arnold the second team and gave those points back to the first team, I think is how it worked. He was a traitor.
Something like that.
Yeah.
So pay no attention to the score.
No.
Ever. And also, really, it doesn't. Pete was doing some funky things throughout the mock game anyway.
Yeah, there was some weird rules about like at any point there could be like a 30-yard punt or something. And
yeah, and there was the one time where the dude ran for a first down and Pete Carroll called it back. Even the announcer in the stadium was like, first down, Seahawks. And then all of a sudden the team was punting.
Yeah, a bunch of weird stuff.
Pete Carroll won a challenge, which he must have had all the control over.
Yeah. That's where he gets his false sense of security in terms of his challenge success, is that he sets himself up for success in the mock game.
It's like, see, I'm good at this.
Yeah, I'm awesome.
Well, you told the ref exactly what you wanted to happen.
He not only that, but he was buttering the refs up before the game. I don't know who one of the refs was, but the other one happened to be Steve Smith Sr., the former Carolina Panthers receiver.
Yeah. Someone was speculating that maybe based on his analyst role with NFL Network, that it was a video crew on him because he does, like the NFL's most interesting jobs.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So like Mike Rowe did with Dirty Jobs, but Steve Smith is doing it with the NFL. Yeah.
And it's not a dirty job at all.
Well, it doesn't necessarily. Most of the dirty jobs were all interesting, were they not?
They were. And sometimes they weren't even that dirty.
Exactly.
It was fun seeing Steve Smith down on the sideline, though.
Oh, yeah. He's always entertaining.
Yeah.
It was fun seeing Geno come out and really be sharp right out of the gate. He was really spinning it and had full command. You could tell just how relaxed he was in that environment, knowing it's his team this year, all that stuff, going over and firing up the fans. I don't know. There must have been, 8,000 to 10,000 people there? Yeah,
essentially it was the entire lower, the 100 level from probably about, the Hawks'
You
nest.
split the stadium in half?
Yeah. Split it in half, and then it was the whole, south end zone? Is that the one?
Yes.
Pretty good attendance. It was fun.
It was fun. I'm glad we went. The only thing that I didn't love seeing is that the first team offense did struggle a little in the red zone. You know, with their 3 attempts, they went 1 for 3.
Well, we didn't have any healthy running backs.
That's true. It's a good point.
Can we get those guys healthy sometime, please?
Pete seems unfazed that it's going to happen. So don't worry about it. We're clutching our pearls over here, and apparently we're not supposed to. So,
oh well, it's only a big part of the game.
I tend to think so, but then again, I don't play fantasy, so I guess fantasy people love running backs. So I don't know.
They score a lot of points,
right? Just not a lot of money.
Anything else from training camp that stood out to you before we get on out of here?
Yeah, the one last thing, and for people who are special teams nerds like I am, we watched Michael Dixon punt the ball throughout training camp, and he must have had 5 different deliberate spins that he could put on the ball, and you'd see he'd do them in a sequence, right? So you could tell that this was on purpose. He was practicing these, and they were nasty, absolutely nasty. He'd have your traditional one-word kind of, break over at the top of the punt and be in a perfect spiral like he threw it. Then he had the one that spun in the air like a top the whole way, like vertically. And it looked like he could do it both ways too. He'd get to spin either direction. And then he had kind of the helicopter one. And then he just had the knuckleball, which good catfish luck with that thing. And JSN still caught it. I don't know how he did it.
That was another standout thing from the mock game, is that JSN was the first team punt returner.
That's exciting.
He never got to actually show off those skills because I think it was, was it a fair catch, or I know he kicked one out of bounds. See, he's already avoiding Jackson. So
yeah.
And when you brought up earlier Michael Dixon at training camp, I was trying to think of instances where he was just lazily wandering around the field, whereas he was actually putting in work. It was Jason Myers and the... All
right, well, let's temper that a little bit. So Dixon went out there and he punted maybe, 10 balls with full protection in front of him and the long snapper and a live rush and all that stuff, right? And then he was just out wandering in circles with Myers out on the other practice field, so... he was putting in some work. We could say that. Yeah.
Saw Jordan Brooks doing some warm-ups out on the practice field.
Yeah.
He was running back and forth quite a bit.
Changing directions, looking good. That was very exciting. One other thing from training camp too is, the second the fans noticed Bobby had snuck out onto the field, the Bobby chant started. And that was super cool. And not only that, but to see Bobby's reaction, right? Like you saw the big grin just break out across his face. And it happened to be kind of the other side that we were sitting on that had noticed it and started the chant. And, he's pointing over there. And just the love fest of that was really cool. It's just awesome having that man back on the team because he is everything that the Seahawks are.
He seemed to play. He was out there for some snaps in the mock game.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't notice anything in terms of, it was really hard to try and judge run defense apart from guys, kind of being in the right spot.
Yeah.
Even on one of the touchdowns, there was a guy in position and he did get his hands on the running back, but the defender was falling down and running back bounced it out to the outside and scored. Whereas on some of those plays, if you just got your hands on the running back, they were usually calling it dead. So
right.
If you like consistency in how football is called,
you would hate this.
You would hate this.
If you went out there with a mindset of like, here's our dudes in pads that are running around and they're doing football things that kind of resembles football, then you were stoked. And that's, I feel like, where I was.
Maybe they need to run the Pro Bowl instead of the Hall of Fame game. Because then it's the start of the new year. It's all the best players. They're kind of playing football, but not really.
No. The teams will never go for that. All your star players out there running around playing half football right before the start of the season.
That's what they're doing in camp anyway.
Yeah, I know, but they're doing it for their teams and their own controlled environment, right? No, that'd be full pucker for me if I was a GM. No, thank you.
It'd make the Hall of Fame game watchable a little bit more.
I enjoyed a quarter of it.
About right.
Yeah.
How it
But
normally
we had
goes.
great company anyway, so we were having a good time.
Yeah, thanks to EJ Snyder, Brett Coleman, Bootleg Football guys hanging out. They had a couple of their guys show up too at the place we hung out at after the training camp practice. Good times. Got to see the Blue Angels throughout the training camp practice.
Oh, yeah. How did we not mention that? We got a free air show along with our training camp ticket. So that was cool.
Flying right over the VMAC, doing all the Blue Angel-y things.
If you don't like that, you're dead on the inside.
I didn't see a lot of people complaining about it.
No, but Seahawks were practicing, Blue Angels were flying around, and then there were two bald eagles soaring around doing their thing just to prove that America loves the Seahawks.
And I think with that,
there's only one thing left to say.
go Hawks.
Go Hawks.